Hey, poker people. Welcome to part 3 in a 5-part series where I gave podcast listener Julio 1 free hour of coaching. Go ahead and click that link right up above in order to see part 2. Now, in this video, we discuss some common leaks that my students have, and we start to dive into his own leaks. In particular, the leak of calling 2-bets. He makes too many calls where he puts himself in dominated situations as well as multi-way post-flop situations, when a 3-bet actually would have been a better play than calling. So, roll that beautiful bean footage! All right, so these are some specific leaks that a lot of my students have, so I continuously look at these for new students, So let me show you some of these, how we find them in Poker Tracker 4. So the first one was, actually, let me do this so we can see them both. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So the first leak that a lot of players have is they're not making enough money when they 2-bet preflop. So I have a filter right here for 2-betting preflop. And if at any time, if you want me to show you what a filter looks like, just let me know.
Okay, so 2-bet is the typical raise, the open raise.
Yes. Well, no. 2-bet can be an open raise or raising over limpers. So it's either one of those. If you want just open raise, you'd have to do raise first in.
Okay.
So, but I always look at 2-bet just because it's a total look at the times that you have the opportunity to ISO raise and the times that you just open the pot. So that's why I record that. But let's take a look real quick. So 2-bets, you're at positive 101. What is your raise first in win rate? I don't often record this. So your raise first in is actually less, and that might be because raising first in is a lot of steals, so maybe you're not as profitable here as you'd like to be. But also, when you're ISO raising, you have some dead money potentially in the pot. So when you come over the top of those with a raise, you're picking up a lot of extra big blinds when nobody calls you. And potentially, those weaker players who are limping in, they're calling your raises, thereby giving you extra value when you do have or when you hit good hands. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes, in my stakes, I used to make raise over limpers a lot because there are a lot of, and here in Spain, poker is not as developed as in other countries,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So raising, well, no matter what, even at your current stakes, raising over limpers is good because those limpers, for the most part, are the weakest players at the table. So if you can raise to isolate them, you set yourself up for more profits post-flop. And pre-flop, of course. Good. So continuing to look at the specific leaks here. So your win rate when you're 2-betting is 101, which is good. Now, whoops. Actually, we don't need this. Better. Okay. Calling 2-bets, this is where you have a little bit of an issue here. All right, so calling 2-bets pre-flop, you can see your dollars are positive, but you're at a negative win rate. Your dollars are positive because, as you can see, you've probably had some good luck at 20 NL and some bad luck at 5 NL. You know what I mean? So you've won more money at 20 NL, but you've lost more big blinds at the 5 NL. That's why the difference right here.
Yes.
Okay, so we see -9. Your call 2-bet on the button, MP, and small blind. These are a bit concerning, though. -115, -482, and then -112. Can you tell me why these are so alarming or concerning?
Because I'm out of position, mostly. Or I don't know.
Possibly. So for sure, in the small blind, you're out of position right here. If you folded every small blind, never made a single call or a 3-bet, what would your win rate be over all of those small blind hands?
Can you repeat, please?
What would your win rate be in the small blind if you folded every small blind hand?
I don't know. A half big blind.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So If you folded, gosh darn it. -50. So you would be at -50 big blinds per 100 hands. So you would have been better off instead of any of those calls out of the small blind.
Yeah,
Even
so
calling sevens, nines, ace, queen. If you would have just not called any of them, your bottom line would be $24 richer right now. Not 24, maybe about $13 richer. You would have lost about half of this. You know what I mean?
yes.
Yeah.
So what's the point? What is the I have to improve?
Well, you have to either call less frequently or turn some of those calls into 3-bets.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because you're calling so much and losing more than if you had just folded every hand, you have some kind of a leak when calling.
Okay, so and if yes, if the opponent has a very wide attempt to steal range, it's so. For example, if it is bad player with a low attempt to steal, maybe 10%, it is better to call or to make the 3-bet.
Well, it just depends on the situation. So you're saying if they raise only 10% of the time, it's probably not a steal, right? They probably consider their hand to be a strong value type hand. So coming over the top might not exactly work as a 3-bet, but calling might not work as well. So let's take a look here at some small bet. Let's take a look at your whole cards. Okay, you called with aces, ace, queen, ace, jack. Okay, ace, nine suited. Let's take a look. Now, if your opponent is only raising like a 10% range, there we go. This is a 10% raising range, right? You called, what was that? Ace nine. You called with ace nine suited. Now, currently, your ace nine suited is anywhere near the top of their range, right? You're only beating king, queen, and queen, jack, right?
Yes.
So if you just call right here against this player, well, you're purposely getting into a spot and you're out of position in the small blind. You're purposely getting to the flop out of position with a subpar hand, right? So calling is not a good play here.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
at all,
Okay.
because they have such a strong range. Now, if they were opening, like, let's say they were like in the button, raising at 30%. Let's drop this. Let's put all the aces in. Let's get rid of some of these here. 31. Let's just take that out and that out. Okay, just a 30% range. Now your ace nine is quite a bit better because of all this offsuit stuff, the suited stuff that you're currently better than, and they have every ace that is below yours. So this might be a better spot to just call versus the wider range.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions about that?
Yeah. So in conclusion, so with attempt to steal, with a wide range to attempt to steal, it is better to call with that type of hands, and with a small wide range of steal is better to fold.
Well, 3-bet or fold. Yes. So if we look at that prior 10% range, I'll just key it in real quick. I don't need to be exact again. If we look at this kind of range, if you decide to 3-bet with your ace nine, depending on the player, they could potentially be folding these, and even that and that right there, right? They're folding a pretty good wide range, maybe even sevens and eights. So what you have to do is, just like before you make any 3-bet, look at their fold to 3-bet stat. And a really good thing is, of course, to look at it in position versus out of position. So let's just take a look at this hand right now. So a limp and then a raise to 4 big blinds. Okay. Kind of a tighter player, right? 29-11. So he only raises normally 11% of the time. And let's see what his raise first in. It's not a raise first in, he's ISO raising, but let's just see what it is on the button to get a gauge of what kind of range he is playing here.
Oof,
Come on.
20%?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, altogether, he's an 11% pre-flop raiser. Darn, it's not popping up. My laptop maybe is a little slow.
So, for example, in this with against this billion, which is 2911, this big gap between VIP and PFR, that is telling us that he's a possible fish.
Yes. Oh, well, without a doubt he is. Yes. So there's a big gap right there. 29-11 means he's more passive than he is aggressive. Plus, he plays 29% of hands on average. And as we saw just then, I shouldn't have exited out. His ISO raise is 8% as a total. And on the button, we haven't seen it at all. So most likely his ISO raise indicates a good hand. It could be a top 10, top 11, maybe even top 8% hand for him to come in like this. He's so passive, he's probably often just limping behind this player, would be my guess. Let's see. His limp, yeah, he limps 23% of the time. So a lot of his weaker range, he's probably limping. His raise means he likes his hand. I would tend to just fold this one right here, because if he likes his hand, if it's a hand with an ace in it, it's going to be better than your ace 9 guaranteed. And then you're chopping against, if he has pocket 8s, 7s, or 6s to raise right here, you're basically chopping against him. So I wouldn't be making this call to go to the flop. And this guy likes to barrel c-bet 89 and then 67%. You're going to be facing 2 streets of bets. And then so it's just not a great situation to put yourself in. So you should be making less calls, especially when it looks like the situation could be a little bit dangerous post-flop, especially when his range is stronger than your current hand.
Okay.
Yep. So call less or 3-bet more right there. Let's take a look here at some other positions. So in the MP, 53 hands, when you call the 2-bet, your win rate is negative 482. That means that you lose 4.82 big blinds on average every time you call. And that's kind of a big loss for just calling 2-bets. What would your win rate be if you folded instead of calling all of these?
0.
Exactly. 0. You would have $14 added to your bankroll right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that means you definitely have some kind of an issue here. Often your 2-bets are going to be calling 2.5 or 3 big blinds per hand, but you're losing 4.8 big blinds per hand. So you're losing everything that you're putting in pre-flop plus additional money post-flop as well.
Yeah, that's a lot. So
yeah.
This point is when I call against a reposition bet.
Yes, because you're in the MP. Yes, and it's basically an under the gun, because all you play is 6 max. Your MP means you're just calling the EP. Now let's take a look at this here. He raises a pot size bet. So he's a tight aggressive player. He folds 60% of the time. Why are you calling here?
That's because with ace queen I use to call, because sometimes I make the 3-bet and my opponent makes the 4-bet, and my ace queen cannot afford a 4-bet profitably.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that. Well, when you call right here, what is going to often happen after you make your call?
That we see the flop, and there can be an ace one or a queen.
Yeah, you might see the flop, but let's take a look at this table. 3,000 hands, 35-8. This guy is a very loose passive player. We can give him the green color, right? Saying that he's loose passive, he's a fish, he likes to put chips into the pot. After your call, I don't know what happens here. Oh, he doesn't call, but okay. What often happens is your call sweetens the pot for his call, right? So he's going to call. Now you're going potentially three-way to the flop, and you're out of position with an ace queen. Your ace queen plays so much better against one other player.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And I'm thinking about that hand, and with the range of my opponent, Biland, the first Biland. he could have ace king. I'm drawing that. Is that the expression? No, drawing.
Well, that is definitely possible.
Yes.
But let's take a look. His raise first in and EP is only 11%. So you're right. It is on the tighter side. But he folds to 3-bets 60% of the time. So he's totally down. Look, he's a tight aggressive player. These kinds of players often open raise and then fold a lot. He could be on a total steal. Yeah, he could have ace king. He could have aces and kings as well. You just don't know. But let me show you something real quick. But we'll get back to this hand in just a second. So when you call 2-bets preflop, your win rate is -9, right? Currently, when you 3-bet preflop, your win rate is positive 442 big blinds per 100 hands. You are so much more profitable when 3-betting preflop that this kind of hand is a great opportunity to 3-bet, right? You're putting yourself in the lead in the hand. After you 3-bet, most likely they're all going to fold. He might come over the top and then you have to fold, but so be it. This was a really good hand, a really good opportunity to try to isolate this player and play him post-flop with position. He also folds 67% of the time, which is 6 out of 9. If you miss the flop and it's a hard to hit board like a deuce 4-8, you could probably throw out the c-bet and take it away from him. So this is the kind of spot that I would say definitely 3-bet, unless you know that he never folds under the gun to 3-bets, right? So raise and then fold. He hasn't seen any 3-bets yet from the early position here. So he hasn't had the opportunity to raise and then fold. But I mean, this is a perfect time to put him to the test. He didn't even make it a full 3 big blinds. So you can make this a standard 9 big blind in position 3-bet, put him to the test and learn a little bit more about how he plays. Plus, I really do think you have a good opportunity of just taking this pot down right now because he folds so often as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And then one other thing about this, if you call, look what we got. Super loose aggressive player, 19% 3-bet. Another lag, 20% 3-bet. Your call gives them really good opportunities to squeeze you both out of the pot and to take down a very simple, 6.5 big blind pot for making it like 10 or 12 big blind squeeze. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one of the issues when it comes to calling. That might be one of the reasons why you're losing when you're calling. It's because you're giving opportunities. You're giving your opponents good opportunities because you're showing weakness right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any questions about all that?
No, I have understand it really good.
Good. And so, yeah, like you were saying earlier, you wanted to start increasing your 3-bets, and this is a really good opportunity to do it. You're not in the cutoff or the button like I discussed, but now if you 3-bet and they do not continue, then you have position at a minimum, right? So it's just like 3-betting from the cutoff or the button. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. All right. I hope you learned something new to apply to your game. Step into action with your very next play or study session. Click either one of the links here to watch the next video or to check out the coaching session playlist. If you want me to be your coach, visit smartpokerstudy.com/coaching.